This is my official guess as to what's really wrong with this Red Sox team. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin, and thank you very much for clicking on this video. And despite a really fun ending to a really miserable series for the Boston Red Sox, with one of the shortest walk-off home runs ever and the shortest walk-off home run in the StatCast era, the Red Sox still lost a series to the Los Angeles Angels. That still puts them 30-34 on the season, miserably out of the AL East, and 4 games back of a playoff spot, which honestly is pretty impressive given how poorly the Red Sox have played this season. And I think I've come to a real conclusion here as to what the problem for this team actually is. So we're going to talk about that. But before we do, I did want to at least give you guys a little bit of positivity to hold on to, right? Something to actually enjoy about this Red Sox team. So we're going to start with that first. And what I'm talking about here is Ceddanne Rafaela. This dude really looks like he figured something out at the plate recently. He's on an 8-game hitting streak, including this series where he had a home run in every single game, an RBI in every single game, and only struck out 2 times the entire series. He's made some very legitimate adjustments at the plate, and it is incredibly refreshing to see. Almost a league average OPS now, over 700 at 707. He actually almost has the same B-WAR he had last year in 60 games this year. That is incredibly impressive. He has more Baseball Reference and honestly Fangraphs WAR than a lot of really impressive players. Playing an elite level center field obviously helps with that quite a bit, but the bat's coming around now, and that's an exciting thing to see. Jarren Duran also, I think you could put into the positivity category from this series. He broke out of his slump a little bit, racking up 4 doubles in this one in 3 games, only struck out 2 times. Everyone told me, hey, this was the month last season that Jarren Duran really started his breakout, right? Really turned it on and became one of the best players in Major League Baseball. And so far this month, that pattern continues to remain the same. Obviously, we're only a couple of days in, so we'll see how it ends up. But really, really great stuff from Jarren Duran here. But to me, it's really hard to sit here and sort of figure out positive angles from this Angels series, because at the end of the day, it was an ugly series, and it wasn't very serious baseball from a very unserious baseball team right now. Starting pitchers in this series remained incredibly inconsistent. You got a combined 2 2/3 innings, 12 earned run stat line from your Game 1 and Game 3 starter combined, right? That just simply isn't going to get the job done. That is a 40.50 ERA in this series from 2 of your starters. Yeah. It's just not very good, right? You still had an incredible amount of errors in this series, to the point where you now lead all of baseball and have more errors than the worst team in baseball history to this point in the season, the Colorado Rockies, and 13 more errors to the next closest team in Major League Baseball, which is the team you just lost a series to. That was a big reason why the Red Sox lost this series, and it's a big problem with this team because you go through and you say, hey, Ceddanne had a really good series. He also made a missed throw, which ended up costing the Red Sox 2 runs in the middle game of this series. Even the guys who are doing good are still contributing to this problem. You have 20 more strikeouts with runners in scoring position than the next closest team in Major League Baseball as well, and the 3rd most strikeouts in baseball in general. That's not a good statistic, right? You just simply can't hit in the clutch. We've been talking about it this entire season. Now it's getting put in terms of statistical evidence, right? It's obvious if you just watch these games that the Red Sox can't hit with runners in scoring position, but to have 20 more strikeouts than the next closest team is absolutely miserable. You have 17 one-run losses on the year. You had 2 more in this series. You have the most ever one-run losses in franchise history to this point in the season. That is half of your current losses you lost by a singular run. Any single one of these 3 things that have come to bite you in this series specifically have been biting you this entire season and preventing you from turning even half of those losses to 1 run, right? Any single one of those adjustments, you're a over 500 baseball team. So Corbin, what's the real problem here? Well, the real problem with the Red Sox is a lack of adjustments. So far this season, we've seen just about every single layer of the Red Sox organization get some blame as to what the results on the field are looking like. We've seen fingers being pointed at the front office. We have a whole lot of fingers continuing to be pointed at either the manager or the coaching staff of this Red Sox club. And of course, we've seen some fingers pointed at what the players are actually doing themselves as well. My problem with pointing fingers at any sort of individual commodity on the Boston Red Sox is it's not just one. The real problem right now is that every single portion of this Red Sox team is refusing to make those adjustments. And I'll tell you exactly what I'm talking about with each portion of this organization, starting with the front office. The front office right now is refusing to be reactionary. They're refusing to make big changes based on a handful in quotes here, because now you're 60-something games into the season. Not exactly a handful of games at this point, but that's what they've been telling us, right? They've been telling us, look, we don't want to be reactionary. We don't want to be hasty in our movements on this Red Sox roster or within this Red Sox staff. And normally this is something to applaud, right? Under normal circumstances, you really don't want your front office flying by the seat of its pants, playing almost strictly off of emotion, doing something really reactionary. You want this front office to have a long-term plan, to be steps ahead of what's going on in terms of the on-field play, right? You want these guys to be cold-blooded, to be calculated. You want them to be essentially emotionless in this front office, but special circumstances change things a little bit. And I think what you're seeing on the field right now is a special circumstance, right? It feels like they're so hell-bent on either proving to themselves or proving to the world that what they are doing in terms of their organizational philosophy is going to work. And right now, it just simply isn't, right? Certain situations do call for a front office executive, i.e. Craig Breslow here, to be reactionary, to be emotional, to do something that you wouldn't normally do unless a certain circumstance comes up. And right now, you've got a whole lot of certain circumstances that it feels like you're just refusing to acknowledge because you don't want to deviate from the plan that you set out coming into the season. And again, normally you'd applaud that, but right now something needs to change. And right now you're just simply sitting there ignoring your roster construction, ignoring your coaching staff situation, ignoring win-loss record that's being put on the field because of what your plan was set out to be during the season. And obviously this plan changes, right? The plan clearly didn't include Casas not showing up at all this season and then getting injured and ruining his entire 2025 season. Your plan didn't include that you haven't been able to get through a single rotation in your starting rotation without somebody being injured. It didn't include your second best player going down in the middle of May and being out for 2 months, right? Those things weren't included in your plan, so adjustments need to be made, and right now nothing is being done in terms of this front office to make those adjustments. They're not being reactionary to the point where it's hurting this Red Sox team. They're not alone, right? You take a look at the coaching staff and the manager of this Red Sox team. It feels like their game-to-game plan just simply isn't working, and it's not working on every single level. Yet, we're seeing the same thing stomped out there every single game. Your starting pitching right now is essentially working, or your game plan, I should say, for your starting pitching right now is essentially working every other start. Outside of Garrett Crochet, who's just simply a freak of nature, that dude would be good on a team where he was the only starting pitcher, right? That's just how good he is. Every other starter is up and down as a unit more than I think I've ever seen a starting rotation be. It's literally every other game that Giolito sucks. It's every other game that Bayo sucks. It was every other game that Houck sucks. It's every other 3 or 4 games that Buehler sucks. Even guys like Fitz and Dobbins, you're seeing such an up and down result in terms of their ability to throw. Not even just a good game, 5 innings, right? Just give me 5 innings. They can't even do that on a consistent level. Yet it feels like every single time they're going out there, it's the same game plan, right? It's like running your head into a wall over and over again, expecting something to change, expecting your head to go straight through the wall at some point, and it's just simply not. Feels like with this pitching staff, you're sitting there and you're saying, no, our stuff, it's going to work. It's going to, guys, trust me, it's going to work, right? Eventually, this is going to be the greatest rotation in Major League Baseball, and you're all going to be shocked with how good this rotation is, and it's just not doing anything. And that could be said for the rest of the team as well. Again, you go back to the statistics I brought up before we got into this, your fielding approach. When was the last time we heard the Red Sox, hey, we're starting some new drills here. Hey, we're putting a real emphasis on the way that these guys are approaching the game mentally in order to prevent some of these errors that have been costing us games. They say that it feels like every spring training, and then for some reason just forget about it once the season starts, right? It doesn't feel like there's an emphasis on playing the game mentally better. It doesn't feel like there's an emphasis emphasis on playing the game physically better. It feels like they're just trotting these guys out saying, they'll figure it out eventually, right? I just don't think that's the right approach. And then you talk about the offense, right? It's been how many years? It's been how many years that the Red Sox have had a strikeout issue, that have had a runners in scoring position issue, that have been this boomer bust offense. They haven't been able to find consistency since what? 2023? Basically, right? And even 23 had your issues all the way through the year offensively as well. And there have been adjustments made, right? There have been adjustments made by individual players, but the overall approach, it feels like they're just perfectly content with saying, look, we're still at the top of the league when it comes to overall OPS and overall runs scored and doubles. And yeah, that's great. Obviously, on paper, that's fantastic, but at the same time, too, on a game-to-game level, the reason you're so high up in some of these categories offensively is because you're having these games where you're scoring 13, 11, 12 runs, and then you're having a stretch of games where you're scoring 1, 2 runs. I would rather this team consistently score 4, 5, 6 runs than I would 11 runs in one game and 2 runs over the next 17 innings, right? There's got to be a middle ground here, and that's got to fall on the game planning of this team, right? You sit there and you say, hey, wait a second, can there be something else done? Can we tell these guys to maybe have a different approach with runners in scoring position? Or maybe instead of going for the double or the triple or the home run, let's go for a single. Let's go for a sac fly. Let's go for a ground out that moves a runner over to third base. Yet it doesn't feel like that sort of philosophy is being translated either from the manager or the coaching staff to these players. But that doesn't mean the players aren't at fault at all either here. Because the same thing can be said for the players on this team, right? As much as we can complain about the game planning of this organization, of the coaching staff here, at the end of the day, they can only do so much. They can almost only say so much. They can't get out on the field and actually enact those changes. At some point here, a team of players here is going to have to make some sort of adjustments, and we've seen guys make adjustments so far this season. We've seen Devers with his bad start make an adjustment. Duran, like we talked about, has been making an adjustment. We just talked about, say, Don Rafaela as well. But in other cases, right, it feels like these guys just have the same approach. How many times have we seen Trevor Story strike out on a slider in the other batter's box? Too many times, right? How many times have we seen Wilyer Abreu come up in a big moment, not shorten up, and go for the fences? Too many times. How many ground balls have we seen from Christian Campbell over the last month and a half? Too many times, right? These guys, they just don't make the adjustments necessary in order to really enact legitimate change in their game. And I don't know if that's a coaching staff issue or just simply the players refusing to get in line with the process. I don't know what that is, right? And even on the mental side of things too, right? We talked about it with the coaching staff. How do you change the mentality of the players? I don't know, right? Maybe it is on the players. How many base running mistakes have we seen recently? How many similar base running mistakes have we seen recently? Too many, right? At some point here, someone's got to make an adjustment, and if the players are refusing to make the adjustment, they absolutely deserve some blame as well. You sit there and you sit and look overall with this team, and it's like every single layer of this organization is sitting there and they're saying, no, our approach is going to work. Right? No, dude. Look. Yeah, we're down bad, but our approach, it's going to work. At some point, you're all going to be wrong, and we are going to be right. And at some point, it has to be going beyond proving that your organizational philosophy is the right one. At some point, it's about admitting that adjustments need to be made. It's like you're driving directly at a wall and saying, look, guys, we're just going to go through it. We're just going to go through this wall. It's a brick wall, but hey, we could just phase right on through and keep going. When in reality, if you just move a little bit to the left or move a little bit to the right, you can avoid this altogether. And this is terrifying to me because the answer and the solution to this problem isn't something that comes overnight. Right? You're not going to go into New York and change your entire organizational philosophy and make the adjustments necessary on every level of this team in 24 hours and get into Yankee Stadium and be like, look, we're the Red Sox we promised you we were going to be this season, right? That's just not going to happen. So how long does it take to make these organizational changes? Is it a full season? Is it a couple of seasons, right? Is there something the Red Sox can do today with this off day that's going to point them in the right direction? I don't know, but at some point here, you need to deviate from your plan. even if it's a little bit, right? You can't just sit there blindly following in faith these non-adjustments that you believe are going to put the Red Sox in a position to win, because right now the reality is they're just not winning, and they're not winning to the level that you need them to win at. I just don't know, and it's driving me absolutely crazy to see the same approach, to see the same roster, to see the same non-adjustments being made every single day, because it clearly isn't working, it clearly isn't going to work, and something needs to be done. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this isn't the real problem with the Red Sox. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think? What do you think of my theory here? What is your theory as to what's going on? As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps these videos out a ton, and it's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.